Hi everyone, welcome to this card making tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to use the Spellbinders Labels 20 dies. I'm going to be using the second one from the biggest and the third one. I'm going to use them to cut two apertures in some paper, which I've already done here. I've cut two squares out that are exactly the same size, and then in one I've die cut with the larger of the labels, and then in the second I've used the next size down. I've already matted and layered onto a 6x6 inch square card a backing layer and a layer that's got a sentiment written on it. These are in contrasting papers that will tone in with the papers that we're going to use on the top. One of the main things that you're going to need, and what this card is all about really, are lots of flowers, swirls and flowers, and we're going to build up the image in front of the aperture to make it come alive and draw your eye into the centre. So because I've already matted and layered onto my 6-inch card, I've also added 3D foam tape on the back of the layer with the smaller aperture cut into it, but the layer that's got the larger aperture I'm going to add some flat tape, and then I'm going to stick this over the smaller aperture exactly in the corners, so that basically it straightens up and it evens the aperture out like so. Just press that down a little bit. Now because I've already cut it and I've already added tape onto the back of the paper that's got the smaller aperture, I'll take off the back of the foam pads. I've put them evenly across the back because then that should hold the aperture. Normally I would add a little bit more foam just to be able to make sure that it doesn't dip anywhere, but just for time I've added the corners and just the edge of the actual shape. So what we'll do is peel all the backs off like so, and then I'm going to position this over the sentiment that's on the card already like so. Make sure that it's straight and even like that. So now we've got the basis of our card. It looks pretty like that, and you could leave it, you could just add a bow, but we're going to take it to the next level and add lots of paper flower embellishments and bring it alive. So the first thing that I've done is I've die cut some paper swirls from a die cut that I've had for quite some time now. However, I think for this it's perfect. So I've die cut two, and using an ink pad I've inked them, and I'm going to position them on my card symmetrically across the top and across the bottom like so. Now to glue them on, they're a little bit fiddly, however on the large places on the back of the die cut I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of glue so that it will take hold, for the simple reason I've got to trick up my sleeve to be able to hold it down firmly. So I'll pop that to one side of the aperture, and then we'll do exactly the same for the other side, and we'll add just a little bit of glue onto the wider areas. Doesn't matter if it goes over, because as I say we've got to trick up our sleeve to make sure that it sticks down and you can't see any of the gluey bits. Okay, so we've got our two swirls positioned at either side of the aperture. I've already die cut dozen leaves. Now I'm probably not going to use them all, but what I am going to do is curl them, and I'm just literally running them around my pokey tool to bring a little bit of life to them. I'm going to start off by doing 4. Now, because we're kind of going for the symmetrical look, I've done 2 frilled and 2 unfrilled. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of glue here and a little bit of glue here, and I'm going to start off by taking 2 of the leaves, the frilled ones, and add them to either side of the card. Then I'm going to do exactly the same again, a little bit further on, and I'm going to add the 2 straight leaves, like so. Now, I'm using glossy accent glue. This will dry clear and it'll dry quite quickly. As most of you know, I do enjoy making paper flowers. So what I've done is I've made an assortment of paper flowers for this card using toning paper. These are a daisy kind of flower, and what we're going to do is place one of the daisies at one side like so, and just twiddle the leaves to make sure they're poking out, and the other one will be at the other side. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now you see where we put the swirls underneath? The daisies are covering the swirls, so where we put the glue on the daisies, that will hold the swirls down. So next I've got quite an array of flowers to use. I've made rolled roses, I've made lots of daisies, I've made some little buds and some rolled paper flowers. So what I'm going to do is start laying down the leaves that I've got. Now these are literally going to go towards the edge of the card at both sides. Just going to give them a little bit of a roll. You can add as many or as few as you like. You might just want 2 flowers at either side of the sentiment and be happy with that. So I'm going to add leaves to the top here, and every time I do it at the same side, same place underneath, and that way it builds up the symmetricalness of it, if that's a word. So we'll add our leaves like that, and then the next flower that I'm going to use is I'm going to use the rolled roses, and I'm going to put the rolled roses on top of the leaves like so. I've made 4 of the rolled roses, again in a contrasting colour to the base paper, and I've added stamens into the centre of the roses that match the paper like so. So that's 4 rolled roses. I've got some little paper ruffle flowers that are quilled. The detail's very fine. I don't know if you can see that. So I've made 4 of these that I'm going to just literally put at the side of our flowers like so. Can you see how we're building the symmetrical pattern on the card? So we've got the flowers underneath and the flowers at the top, like so. So next I've got some daisies. I've made 4 daisies that are with the centre pearls that match the paper, and I'm going to add these at the edge of the flowers, like so, and again at the bottom. So every time I do one at one side, I do them at the other side. Now I've also made some little buds. These, I love making the little buds because they're a kind of space filler on your card. If you don't know what to add, you can always add a little bud. So I'm just going to add one at the top and one at the bottom. So I shall add it at the side of the flower, like so, and we'll put one there, because if you've got lots of different colours, little buds are something that you can turn in with. So we can still see a little bit of our base swirl underneath. We can see the leaves that are underneath the big flower and at the base of our roses. Now lastly, I've mentioned before the little palm flowers. These are palm punch flowers, and you can make them out of your scraps of paper, and I've made mine out of matching paper, and I've had a pearl drop in the centre of them. So what you can do is literally any places that you think you need to add a little bit more glue, if you've got anything loose, you can add your palm flowers. Now I'm just going to add 2 at either side just to show them go on, because I'm quite happy with how much detail I've got in this now. So there we go, the little palm flowers, and the last one. Again, I've used a peach and a purple at one side and the same at the other. And there we go. We've got a bouquet of flowers on our card now. I really hope you've enjoyed watching this presentation and this card making tutorial. I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully I'll see you again another time.